So I'm here talking once again with David Ellefson. David, it's great to talk to you again, man.
Yeah, likewise. How you doing, man?
Great, great. Listen, you probably don't remember, but when we spoke in January, we were talking about Nam and the Bass Warrior dates.
Right, I
And
remember.
you had mentioned you had some stuff, planned down the pike and this and that, but man, I mean, you could have had a little hit to me about this Black Sabbath gig, man.
I couldn't announce it until they announced it, and that was literally going down right at that time. It was right kind of right during NAM and right after is when it all kind of got buttoned up. With me on the bill and everything. So yeah, and there's even more coming. There's
Oh, right
there's more
on.
stuff there. There's another announcement coming out tomorrow on a new record that I have coming out. So anyway, I'm sure
Oh
there'll
man.
probably be another podcast coming down the pike here.
All
So
right, maybe we'll talk to you down the road again. I'll tell you,
there you go.
I did listen to your wrap up of the day on your podcast. Anyone who wants to see it's on YouTube, named the David Ellefson podcast, obviously. You gave a great 30 40 minute just lineup about everything. And I thought it was kind of cool how you mentioned that KK Downing is the one that kind of got you wrapped up in this
He
event.
did. He did. Yep. He reached out to me in early January about it. Connected me to Tom Morello. We started chatting, and it was pretty much a done deal. Tom, it's so funny because I just met Tom a year before at the NAMM show. It was at the Metal Hall of Fame,
Okay.
and I was literally walking from like kind of the green room area through the kitchen to get to the stage because I was presenting Eddie Trunk with his 40 years in broadcasting. I was giving him his Metal Hall of Fame award that night,
Very cool.
and then Kings of Thrash played and wrapped up the evening. So, but I'm literally walking through there and I meet Tom for the first time, and I knew he was a Megadeth fan, and he's obviously a fan of guitar bands, so it's funny that just a year later, I get connected to him, and that's not only how the music business is, but that's just how life is, and really
Sure.
that's that, just be in the room, man, so I get a lot of people, I'm a say yes guy. My friend Al Petrelli told me that when Megadeth disbanded in 2002. He goes, brother, just say yes to everything, and I'm glad I do, because just being in the room for something, next thing they think of you, it's like, oh, let's give Ellison a call. You know what I mean? So,
if
um,
if you don't ask or if you don't put yourself out there, it doesn't happen. I mean, speaking, for me doing interviews, if I don't ask to do an interview, I'm never going to
right.
be able to interview the person. So, you have to
Yeah.
speak up, man. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So yeah, it was just really a nice serendipitous thing, the way it all fell into place. And they Tom started sending some songs around to everybody, and we had no idea who we were playing with. It was all kind of very, very and quite honestly, I don't know if Tom totally knew. I think that probably took him a while to get all those bands together. And
Yeah.
then as bands were added, everybody basically everybody in the afternoon played for 15 minutes, just like our supergroup did, right? You play three songs, and one of them was a Black Sabbath song, right? So there's that whole afternoon of stuff. There's the two supergroups, and then of course there's Pantera and Guns N' Roses and Metallica and everything, Slayer, in the evening, who played at least one. I think Guns N' Roses played at least a couple
Yeah.
Black Sabbath songs, so
It was amazing.
you know, yeah, it was great. So so there, I think Tom had a lot of, I've done a lot of that, right? Obviously, we do Metal Allegiance, right? And
Yeah.
it's a lot of wrangling cats. It's a lot of moving pieces of on the board, to try to get everything sort of couched together, and so it is what it is. But I think he did a fantastic job. He was super, super great.
I obviously want to dive into the show itself, but I know that, I've been looking at your Facebook and I saw that you visit a lot of spots in and around Birmingham. Can you talk about some of the spots you had gone to the Working Class Hero exhibit, Ozzy's exhibit
Yeah, well,
museum
well,
there?
it's funny because I see Whitfield Crane, who right as I get to the hotel, I see him, and he's always a friendly, smiling face in the crowd,
Okay.
and he basically lives out of his backpack. He literally does. He's a man on the move. Like he says, he's a marble in the groove, as he calls it, right? And I see him in Costa Rica. I see him in Portugal when Dieth played a festival. There's Ugly Kid Joe. Next thing you know, he invites me on stage to jam, and so he is a very in the moment guy.
If
He
it's
doesn't.
happening, Whitfield Crane's there.
Yeah, and I even asked him to be part of Metal Allegiance. He goes, "I'd love to, but I'm a marble in the groove."
Right on.
So we'll see where I'm at. I'm like, well, we gotta plan it. You know what I mean? I asked
Yeah.
him again. I said, "Hey, I'd love to have you." So. But that's just how he is, and I love that about him because he's very impromptu. So next thing you know, I said, "Yeah, I want to get into town and see some of the stuff." And he goes, "Let's go. I know where the train is. It's a 20-minute walk and then 10 minutes." I said, "Let's go." So we went and got on the train, rolled into town. Right away, I see some staff from Metallica there at the train station, and just friendly faces everywhere, right? People, because everybody's starting to show up into town. And this was last week, I guess, like a week ago, like Tuesday or something, last week when I got in, and
Right.
Tuesday or Wednesday, I guess, but it might have been Wednesday actually. But so right as soon as you go out of the train station there, the big central train station, um, there's the murals. The guy was still painting, still finishing up a couple of the murals. The Black Sabbath guys had been there just a few days earlier to autograph them and sign them. Went up to the Black Sabbath bridge, which was about a
Ah,
little
right. Yep.
10-15 minute walk for that whole thing. And thank God we got there when we did because it looked like it got super packed,
So
closer
cool.
to the show day. But yeah, fans were there from around the world. In fact, there were some fans from Mexico there. And funny enough, they said, "Oh, Whit, we've been waiting," and they handed him a jersey with his name on it. It was like literally like they were waiting at
Wow.
the mural for him, thinking he would show up, and bang, there he was. So, um, and then there was um, there's signage everywhere, around there. I mean, they, kind of like what Metallica, maybe Taylor Swift, and everybody does Ramstein, right? When they do these big festivals, they sort
Yeah,
of
they
do a
just kind of
whole,
move in on the town. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's a town takeover. So that's what this was. So, and then I went back into town. I think it was the next day. I went back in to go see the Ozzy exhibit that was in the in the museum there, and it was super great, man. It's just kind of this one hallway right as soon as you arrive, right, and in order to get into the museum, you basically walked through his hallway, and it was,
Oh,
for all of us, for all of us, I think most of us stopped. We didn't go look at art and history. We just went. We've seen everything we wanted to see. We saw Ozzy. That's good. We're out.
was it like personal artifacts of Ozzy's, or just more less more like accomplishments, or
Yeah, more awards, plaques. Um, and yeah, I was texting with Billy Morrison because I saw his song in there, "The Gods of Rock and Roll,"
gods of rock and
and he
roll?
did that. Yeah, that was that. They had some awards in there, so I screenshotted that. So because he wasn't able to make it out to the show because he's out on tour with Billy Idol
Right.
right now. So, but yeah, no, it was really cool. They had the Crazy Train video playing. That one that they filmed at that TV station or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah.
Remember that? That one, right?
Sure.
With Rudy Sarzo
Yeah,
in it,
it's
and
famous. Sure.
so they were showing that, and yeah, just super cool, man.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, really great.
So now we get to the day of the show. Obviously, I want to start off with Ozzy and Sabbath. I mean, were
Right.
you side stage? Were you front of house? For
I
them two
was I
sets.
Well, so the sound check was the night before on Friday. We did that big band photo, with Ozzy and
Oh yeah, yeah.
everything.
Yep.
We did that on Friday. Metallica was sound checking that day. I got to catch a little bit of their sound check, and then when they were done, they came into the room backstage there where they brought Ozzy in, and we sat there, and which was really fun, man. Especially when you see Metallica. I saw put up some of the B-roll, some of the stuff filming, and I brought some coffee for Sharon and Ozzy, so I gave her that bag of coffee. She gave me that nice big hug, and it was really great to see everybody. We all know each other. It was great to see Steven Tyler. I haven't seen him in a minute. Um,
And
and
watching some of those clips, that's what I was trying to think of, David, because like me as a fan, I mean, I would be just sitting back just in awe of everything. But you've toured with probably most of these guys, and
Right.
have a stellar career yourself. Is it still, do you still get those oh my God moments, or is it just, hey, what's been a while, or
And, it's funny walking there from because I got there to watch a little bit of the Supergroup B rehearsals for a bit. So I was hanging with Tobias for a little while. We're buddies,
oh, cool,
and I was making some plans with him to maybe see him in Phoenix in August and stuff. So it's just great. So we're just hanging out, and then I actually walked with Sammy Hagar from the rehearsal to the backstage, which is basically across the entire, stadium, So it was fun getting caught up with him. I've hung with him a bit, but not, we hung a lot actually that night. So it was cool. Um, and just watching it, seeing everybody come in, the Tool guys and everybody, say hello to Geezer and it was, the thing of it was, is it was everybody was there for free. Nobody got paid. It was a total charity gig. And I tell you, when you level the playing field like that, there's no egos. It's not
okay,
like, well, I'm the headliner and where's my dressing room and where's my lobster and how come my limo's not here? There's none of that
understood,
crap.
yeah, yeah.
So everybody was treated great. I mean, the Osbournes know how to throw a hell of a party, man. I mean, they do it right. They spared no expense when it comes to just, doing it right, making sure the production, they were well staffed. It was, you didn't hear any grumbling about anything. And for all of us there, I mean, we've grown up doing this our whole lives, and in fact, on the day of the show, when I watched Steven Tyler go out there, out on the stage, it reminded me of when I was a kid watching California Jam 2, when they're
Oh,
out there on
wow,
the Draw the Line album, right? I remember
yeah.
watching that on TV, and I'm just going, God, man, that's Steven Tyler, man. He's, so there's, I think for all of us, there's this fan in us, and, I said stage to watch Metallica, and of course, friends and toured with them and everything, but they were killing it. And it was funny because Robert Trujillo's son Ty was there singing the words to Battery. It's like a fan, it was so cool. And so everybody was a fan, and
I
everybody
saw you and Tom Morello on side stage doing GNR, just taking it in and watching them guys perform.
totally, yep, just totally just taking it. And G&R were great. I just saw them a couple weeks ago down in Munich, and they were amazing. The show was great. God, they play 3.5 hours. I mean,
Wow.
it's phenomenal. And
Oh,
I thought they were really on point. Like they were great in Munich, and they were like one greater. Just I don't know. They just seemed to be in a good mood. They seemed to be in a great mood. And I know they had just flown in from Stockholm the night before, so I was going, man. I was asking Slash, "Are you guys tired?" He goes, "No, I'm ready." And he looked in great spirits, man. Everybody looked happy and hanging out, and so this was just a great vibe all around. Everything about people say, "Well, what was a highlight?" And it's hard to do a highlight because it's like it seems like every 15 minutes was some new thing that was just awesome. You know what I mean?
sure,
And
sure.
so
And I mean, watching it, I streamed it the day I watched the whole thing, and it was so professional. It was so smooth, and
yeah,
my takeaway personally, I was at Live Aid back in '85, and
yeah,
I knew that I had just seen something that was monumental,
yeah,
and that's how I felt when I shut her off. I watched from 10 a.m. to like 8 p.m. I think it was, and I
yeah.
knew that something just happened. It was remarkable.
It's funny you say that. I didn't see Live Aid in person. I saw it on TV, of course. I was living in LA at the time, and you could tell just the enormity of it. It was like for me growing up, the Jerry Lewis telethon, right? It was on
Of
for
course,
like 24 hours or whatever, and I
yeah.
remember me and my family would stay up and watch and stuff. But yeah, watching Live Aid was like that, and that's what this felt like. This felt like heavy metal Live Aid, man. It was really, and of course, it was a charity gig. I mean. Ultimately, it was Ozzy and Black Sabbath's retirement party, so to speak. But and I don't even know if they're going to retire ever from playing music again. But just kind of, this was it, right? This was the farewell. And like
Yeah,
Ozzy had,
playing shows. Yeah.
yeah, Ozzy said, he goes, yeah. I don't want to die in some hotel room somewhere. I want to enjoy my life now. And I tell you, seeing him. And he was in great spirits, man, especially after the show. I mean, I went back. I was literally standing right. I was literally talking to Ozzy I was standing when they wheeled him into the VIP after show thing. He looked over, he saw me, waved me over. So we chatted for a minute. I just told him how great I thought it was, and then Jack got up and started telling everybody to shut up. And next thing you know, Sid the Third is proposing to Kelly
Oh,
Osbourne, like
I
right,
saw
like
that.
literally right in
You
front of me. I'm like,
you
"Are
were
you kidding
there?
me?" Yeah,
Wow.
I was literally right there. I was right, standing right there,
Oh shit.
and and then seeing Ozzy, and he just looked. He had that after show glow, that I just got done kicking ass, and I want to hang out and enjoy this. He seemed like the guy that wanted to kick it at the after show party. So
One of the things I saw Randy Blythe had posted on his Instagram that, he did a great tribute, and he said that everybody was nervous for this event. Performers, he said, I know for
for
sure I
sure,
was, and it was, and to find out later on, 5 million people streamed it. The event made 160 so $1 million for charity. I mean,
yeah.
again, getting back to that moment of history, it truly was, and it has to be
Yeah.
awesome to be a part of that.
Well, and sorry, I diverted there. You asked about watching it front of stage. So I pretty much watched most of everything side stage. But when Ozzy, I thought, I want to be down in the audience. I want to just be a fan, not a
Fan,
sort
yeah.
of working professional fan standing side stage, as cool as that is. Because I saw Ozzy sound check Friday night, and it sounded good. So I kind of
He
knew,
sounded awesome. He sounded great.
yeah, yeah.
It was great to hear.
Yeah, it was good. He had just kind of been in, and then I saw Mike Inez right away the first day when I arrived there. He said, "Man, we just got done full day of rehearsal with Oz. He sounds killer. He's in a great mood." And they said, "He's singing okay." He goes, "Oh yeah, he sounded great." So it's kind of like, Mike's been a dear friend, and he's it's cool that he got the job to basically play the Ozzy tunes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought that was great. So yeah, and then to see sound check, I was like, yeah, this is gonna work. This is gonna play, man. And yeah, so I just went down below, and it was funny because there's a bunch of us down there, um, watching it from down in the audience, and then Wit of all things shows up in the audience. He goes, "Come here, follow me." So we went down the barricade. You know how there's that divide in the barricade for the security to walk
Oh,
down.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so we went down that, took me this other little kind of triangular piece, and couched in there was the Trujillo family. And
Oh,
so we
wow.
just sat there, and watched Black Sabbath, and me and Robert were comparing notes and just gushing on Geezer, like because Geezer just killed it, man.
He
He
was
just
a
played.
total machine. I mean, he was a machine. It just
Yeah,
crazy. And I mean, all of them. Obviously, Tony's riffs still are so crisp, and Bill
right.
Ward. It was so phenomenal to see him back. But man, Geezer just powered that set, man.
Yeah. Geezer, Eddie and so bass players like me and Robert are, it's we know sometimes that's your job, is to just plow through it, and he really did, and it was great. Look, we all love Geezer, especially as bass players. He's a one of a kind, He basically started how to play heavy metal in that sort of pentatonic blues scale motif that he uses, and very aggressive.
Aggressive,
Um,
yeah. Mhm.
and of course he was a main songwriter in the band, a lyric writer. Um, and I mean, look, we all know that "Mama, I'm Coming Home" thing was just that there wasn't a dry eye in the place, man. I mean,
Not at all.
so that we I think we all saw the same show, whether you were there or you watched it on the live stream, because people were sending me stuff. There was a little 2 hour delay on it before it went live on the stream from where we were on the ground there. But
Yeah.
people were just kind of recapping, going, "Oh my God, I just saw this, I just saw that," and we all saw the same concert, man. It was, I mean, what you saw and felt emotionally is exactly what was going on, boots on the ground there.
One of the things I loved was when Scotty Ian came out and you guys played Sweet Leaf as your tribute to Sabbath, man. That was just
Yeah,
amazing. I mean, still just that riff after all these years is just so meaty and big, and you
yeah.
guys just killed it, man.
Yeah, well, it was funny with that too because Mike Borden and I were chatting before. We had a phone call a couple days before because we were going over endings, and there's a version that he had me watch. I guess it was after the final tour happened back in 2013 or so. They went into the studio and played Sweet Leaf live, And I was really paying attention to what Geezer was playing because I really wanted to play this right, and so it's funny. I think he changed a few things, but he can. It's his song. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the funny thing is, um, you know, it's funny with the Sabbath songs. It's like because Borden was in Ozzy and then even in Sabbath for a moment there. He was there, I guess, kind of right as the handover happened from Bill
Oh, okay.
Ward, which I did not know that, but
Yeah, I
he
didn't know.
informed me
Yeah.
that. But I was like, there's so many different versions. I was like, I mean, how do you agree on it? And we basically kind of came up with our own endings. We kind of came up with our own versions of the endings of a couple of these songs, which was fun. It kind of made it our own personal thing, which was cool. But um, part of this thing too, like in our case with the supergroup, is you're working as a new band because we've just sort of musically met each other on the gig at rehearsal a couple of days prior to us
Just a
playing.
couple days early. Yeah.
Yeah, so and we didn't even know who was on the song. I mean, look, like I have it here, right? I've got the sheet, right, that has everybody's names
Oh,
on it. But
yeah, yeah.
it's like
Yep.
we didn't get this email until literally like a week before. You know what I mean? So it was almost like, okay, it's Barton's on there. All right. Okay, Nuno's on these. Okay, okay, Lizzie, then that's when Draymond comes out. You know what I mean? So you're kind of
Yeah.
looking at the flow.
Trying to
And
figure it
again,
out.
I
Yeah.
do this with Metal Allegiance all the time, so I'm very familiar with it. But just and everybody's going to show up and know their parts and everything. But I think as the like Randy Blythe said, there's this little nervous energy, and there was, of course, but I think there was more. We weren't so much in awe of each other because we all know each other, and of course, I didn't think I'd meet frickin' Ron Wood. I didn't even see his name on the list, so he showed up, right? So I'm like, man, I said, dude, I got to get a picture with you, and I just snapped a selfie real quick. I
Talk
mean,
about
when
holy
what?
shit moments. That was my holy shit moment. I had no
Yeah,
idea. He came out, and then right after that, Steven Tyler came out, and neither one of them,
I
I don't
know.
think, were announced. It was just like, and Train
Yeah.
kept the role in they play. I mean,
Yeah, I
come
know.
on.
I know. And and Ron Wood is not only, the guitar player in the Rolling Stones. To me, he was the bass player in the Small Faces, and
Okay,
it's like,
sure, sure.
and a great bass player, an awesome bass player. So, but just an icon, so it's like here he is. In what lifetime do you ever get, to put your arm around a Rolling Stone? Like never, you know what I mean? And
But
he was
David, what
just
the hell do you say to Ronnie Wood? I mean, great career. I mean,
You don't say much. You say, "Can I have a selfie?" You know what I mean? And that's about it. So, no, it was all those kind of moments. Just every
Amazing.
time you turned around, you're like, "Oh my God, did you see that? Oh my God, and I can't believe this is happening." So as much as we all had the schedule. There's the schedule of how it's going to go. I always say this. There's the show you want to give, the show you wish you gave, and then the show you actually gave. Those are the three shows. And I think the show we all gave was just divine. I mean, it's like the gods of heavy metal were just looking down on us, man. And the weather held. It poured like buckets the day before,
Oh
especially at
wow.
sound check. The next day on Sunday was pouring like crazy, but on Saturday, man, it held. The weather was great. It wasn't one of these sloppy, we've done some of these festivals also over here, in England and Europe, and oh, if it
You're not
rains in
sure
the
what's
morning,
happening. Yeah.
it's a mud fest all day long. So, we really got lucky with that.
I'll tell you what, and just as a fan of instruments, you see I got my dime bag back there. Your purple bass with that chrome cross inlay, man. I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah,
Crazy.
in April I thought, we got to do something special for this show, So I went up to so in Scottsdale where I live, there's the Jackson Guitar Fender is in Scottsdale, and so they also have a custom shop there where the master builder Mike Shannon has his own shop there that he can do stuff, and so I went up there and I think I had him tweak a bass that I had just to kind of touch up set up a bass for me. And I said, man, what's the chance we could do this? So we he and I started chatting. We got Mike Tempesta, our artist relations guy, on the horn, and we went through it, and we basically took one of my silver 30th anniversary basses, and they painted it in that they basically, I think, kind of painted black first, and then they turned it into that purple burst, like the Masters of Reality purple. And
Like
I said,
everybody had that day. Yeah, everyone had
yeah, I said,
purple
look,
on.
we gotta get a Tony Iommi cross on here somewhere, man. So we're pulling up pictures, looking at the inlay of his, the crosses that he has on the
Yeah, on the
inlay of his
fretboards.
neck.
Yeah,
So we kind of mocked that concept, and then we put it right there on the body. And yeah, it was, and it came out great. They got it done in less than a month, man. They flipped that thing around, and
it was
that's
beautiful.
pretty unheard of. So yeah, they did a great job, and I couldn't wait to bust it out.
Well, again, I appreciate your time today, David. It was a remarkable event. I'm so glad that you got to to partake in it. I know Kings of Thrash are coming around. If you remember, I'm just outside of Philadelphia on October
Yep.
18th. The band's
Yep.
playing in Frenchtown, New Jersey, so I'm going to go check that one out for sure.
Please do. Please do.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'm talking to your buddy Chip Enough on Friday, so I'll tell him you said hi.
Nice. Yeah, please tell Chip. Hey, I love Chip, man. We've done a couple of really great songs together here,
Hell yeah,
and
man.
so
Yeah.
definitely
Aaliyah
tell him
was
hello.
just tremendous. But David, again, be good, man, and congrats, man. A great show,
Yeah.
and good talking to you.
Thank you much. See you later.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Yes, sir.
Bye.